The organ music swelled to a crescendo inside the historic church in downtown Atlanta as I stood at the altar, my white gown feeling like a cage. Mike smiled at me with such hope in his eyes, but my heart was pounding with a different kind of terror, the kind that comes from years of lying to myself and everyone around me. In that split second, everything crystallized. I let the bouquet slip from my fingers, the flowers scattering across the red carpet like my shattered pretense. Turning away from Mike and the minister, I ran down the aisle, my heels clicking frantically, straight toward Kaylee, who stood at the very back in her tailored white vest over a crisp shirt, her short hair perfectly styled, looking every bit the confident woman I had fallen for in college. "Kaylee," I gasped as I reached her, grabbing her hands in front of the stunned guests. "You're the one I want to marry. It's always been you." The church erupted in chaos. Gasps turned to murmurs, then shouts. Mike's voice cracked as he called my name. My mother stood up from the front pew, her face pale with horror. "Sarah, what are you doing?" My father was right behind her, his conservative suit suddenly seeming like armor against the scandal I had just unleashed. Kaylee's eyes widened, but she didn't pull away. "Sarah, are you sure? This is your wedding." "I can't do it anymore," I whispered urgently, pulling her toward the exit. "I can't marry him when I love you." We burst through the heavy wooden doors into the humid Atlanta afternoon, the sound of the commotion following us like a storm. My heart raced as we jumped into my car, the one I had decorated with just married ribbons that now felt like a cruel joke. Kaylee slid into the passenger seat, still in shock. "Drive, Sarah. Just drive." As we sped away from the church, the reality of what I'd done hit me like a wave. 4 years, I had dated Mike to please my family. They were devout Southern Baptists, the kind who quoted Bible verses at dinner about traditional marriage. Coming out as a lesbian? It was unthinkable. Kaylee and I had met in college at the University of Georgia. She was out and proud even then, studying architecture while I buried myself in education courses and pretended my feelings for her were just close friendship. After one night where we almost crossed the line, I panicked and pushed her away, throwing myself into a relationship with Mike. He was safe, approved, the son of family friends, but the guilt had eaten at me. Every kiss with him felt wrong. Every plan for the wedding was a step toward a life that wasn't mine. "Why now?" Kaylee asked, her voice steady but her hands trembling slightly as she looked at me. "After all this time at your own wedding?" Tears streamed down my face as I navigated the traffic. "Because watching you walk in today, seeing you there in that vest looking so strong and real, it broke something in me. I couldn't say I do to him when my heart was screaming for you." Kaylee sighed, running a hand through her hair. "You know this is going to destroy them, right? Your parents, Mike, the whole community. Atlanta may be progressive in some parts, but your circle isn't." "I know," I admitted, my voice breaking, but living a lie was killing me inside. The anxiety, the depression I hid from everyone. I thought marrying Mike would fix it, but it only made it worse. We ended up at Kaylee's apartment in Midtown, a modern loft with clean lines that reflected her personality. She poured us both glasses of water, then wine when I asked for something stronger. As we sat on her couch, the weight of the day settled. My phone was exploding with calls and texts from my sister, my best friend who was maid of honor, even Mike's mother. I turned it off. "What happens now?" I asked her, searching her face for any sign of reciprocation. Kaylee had moved on after college, or so I thought. She had dated other women, built a career. "Sarah, I never stopped caring. But you hurt me when you chose him. I respected your decision, even if it broke my heart." Her words stung, but they were honest. We talked for hours, the sun setting outside the windows. She told me about her struggles too, her own family in California who were more accepting but still had their issues, her fear of being the other woman in this mess. That night I slept on her couch, exhausted but free for the first time. The next morning the consequences began. My mother left a voicemail that was half prayer, half condemnation. "Sarah, this is the devil's work. Come home and repent." My father was more direct. "You've embarrassed us all. Don't come back until you fix this." Mike texted simply. "Why? Was it all a lie?" The guilt gnawed at me, but looking at Kaylee making coffee in the kitchen, I knew I had crossed a point of no return. This was just the beginning of the storm. The next morning I woke to the sound of my phone ringing again, even though I thought I had turned it off. It was my sister Emily. "Sarah, you need to come to the house right now. Mom is having a breakdown, Dad is threatening to disown you, and Mike is here demanding answers. This isn't just about you." Kaylee looked at me with concern as I hung up. "You don't have to go alone. But if you do, remember why you did this." I nodded, but inside doubt was creeping in. The drive to my parents' suburban home outside Atlanta was filled with dread. When I arrived, the family was gathered in the living room, faces grim. Mother was crying, father pacing. Mike stood by the window, his eyes red. "Sarah, how could you?" he asked, voice breaking. "I loved you. I thought we had a future." My mother wailed. "The church is calling, the gossip is everywhere. What will people say? We've raised you better than this." I tried to explain, the words tumbling out, about years of hiding the pressure, the love for Kaylee that never went away. But they didn't listen. "It's a phase," father said coldly. "Or the devil. Go back to Mike, apologize, and we'll fix this." Emily pulled me aside. "You're tearing the family apart. Think about Dad's business, clients are already pulling out." The confrontation lasted hours, accusations flying, tears, even a prayer circle that felt like an intervention. I left shaken but firm. Back at Kaylee, she held me as I cried. "They'll come around or they won't. But you have me." We spent the evening talking about our past, the college days where we would sneak off campus to be alone, the joy and fear. Kaylee shared how after I left her, she vowed never to love someone in the closet again. But here I was, out in the most dramatic way. Social media was brutal. Hashtags, memes, old photos of me and Mike resurfaced with cruel captions. My job at the family marketing firm was on the line, emails from colleagues distancing themselves. But in Kaylee's arms there was peace. We made simple dinner, laughed at the absurdity, and for a moment it felt right. Yet the guilt lingered, a constant whisper. Was my happiness worth their pain? Over the next week the pressure mounted. My father called to say the family business account had been frozen until I came to my senses. Friends from church unfollowed me on every platform. One even posted a vague status about betrayal and broken vows. Kaylee kept her job at the architecture firm, but her boss gave her a strange look during a meeting, asking if everything was okay at home. We decided to make it official, move some of my things into her loft and face the world together. The first night we cooked pasta and watched an old movie, holding hands, the simple act feeling revolutionary after years of secrecy. But at 3 a.m, I woke up sweating from a nightmare where my mother disowned me in front of the entire congregation. Kaylee woke too and listened as I poured out my fears. "I keep thinking, what if they're right? What if I'm selfish for this?" She kissed my forehead. "You're not selfish for wanting to live authentically, Sarah. But yeah, it hurts them, and that sucks. We pay the price together." The next day brought the first real test. Mike showed up at Kaylee's door unannounced, looking exhausted and angry. "I deserve an explanation face to face," he said when I stepped outside to talk. We sat on the stoop and I told him everything, the college romance, the repression, the moment at the altar when I couldn't pretend anymore. He listened, then stood up, fists clenched. "You used me as a cover, Sarah. 2 years of my life wasted." His words cut deep because they were true. I had used him to hide, and now he was collateral damage. Back inside, Kaylee didn't push for details, but her silence spoke volumes. We were in this war now, and the casualties were piling up. Days turned into a blur of hushed conversations with supportive coworkers who reached out privately and cold shoulders from the rest. I quit the family firm before they could fire me, the resignation email feeling like another door slamming shut. Kaylee celebrated with takeout and flowers, but I could see the worry in her eyes. Our love was real, but the world around us was crumbling, and we had to decide every day if the fight was worth it. The internal battle raged louder than the external one. Every time I saw a family photo on my phone, the guilt surged. Was I brave or just cruel? Kaylee sensed it, and we talked late into the night about boundaries and healing. "I chose you at the altar," I told her one evening. "Now I have to choose you every day, even when it hurts." She smiled, but the smile didn't reach her eyes fully. The family war had only just begun, and the first battles had left us both bruised. Weeks passed and we tried to build something normal in the loft. Kaylee went to work designing sustainable buildings while I looked for new marketing gigs in the city. The social fallout continued. Invitations to old friends' events dried up, and one former bridesmaid posted a long vague blog about loyalty and faith that everyone knew was about me. My sister Emily texted sporadically, at first angry, then pleading. "Mom won't eat. Dad stares at your baby pictures. Come home, Sarah. We can fix this quietly. I deleted the messages, but they haunted me during quiet moments. Kaylee and I had our first real fight one rainy afternoon. She found an old engagement ring photo on my laptop and asked why I had kept it. It's not about Mike, I snapped. It's about the life I thought I had to live. Her response was calm but firm. I need to know you're all in, not half in, with one foot still in that world. We made up that night, talking through the pain of my past choices and her fear of being second place again. The next weekend my mother showed up at the loft unannounced, her face drawn and tired. This has gone on long enough, she said, standing in the doorway refusing to come in. Your father had a mild heart scare last week. The doctor says stress. Stress from what you did. The words landed like blows. I invited her in, but she wouldn't sit. Kaylee stayed in the bedroom, giving us space. I love you, Mom, but I can't go back to pretending. She cried, then prayed over me right there in the living room, quoting scripture about honoring parents and fleeing temptation. When she left, I collapsed on the couch shaking. Kaylee emerged and held me without words. We decided to visit my parents together the following Sunday, a calculated risk. The dinner was tense. Father barely spoke. Emily glared. Mother tried to act normal, serving pot roast like old times, but the conversation kept circling back to repentance. Kaylee seems nice, Emily said sarcastically, but she's not family. Kaylee took the hits gracefully, later telling me in the car. They're scared, Sarah. Scared of losing the version of you they built. Back home we celebrated small victories. I landed a freelance contract with a local nonprofit. Kaylee finished a big project, and we went to a quiet dinner downtown, holding hands in public for the first time. The stares were there, but so was the joy. Still, the moral weight pressed down. Was I destroying my family for personal freedom? The question followed me into therapy sessions I started attending alone at first, then with Kaylee. The counselor helped me unpack the years of conditioning, the fear of hell, the need for approval. Kaylee opened up more about her California roots, her mother who accepted her but never fully understood the depth of her loneliness after I left. Our bond deepened in those vulnerable talks. One night after a long day we danced in the kitchen to an old song, laughing until tears came. It was happiness, fragile but real. Yet outside the loft the pressure built. A church elder called me asking for a meeting. I declined, but the call reminded me the community wasn't done with me. Kaylee faced her own test when a client pulled a project citing personal values. She shrugged it off, but I saw the toll. We were paying the price daily, choosing each other over comfort, over safety, over the easy path. The internal conflict didn't vanish, it evolved into a quieter resolve. I was learning that love wasn't just the grand gesture at the altar. It was the daily decision to stay despite the cost. The backlash hit harder in month 3. A local news station ran a segment on runaway brides with my story as the hook, complete with blurred photos from the church and interviews with anonymous family friends, calling it a betrayal of Southern values. My phone lit up with hateful messages, some from people I had known since childhood. Work dried up completely. The nonprofit contract ended early after a donor complained. Kaylee's firm reassigned her to smaller projects, the subtle punishment for the publicity. We argued more now, not about love but about survival. Maybe I should move out for a while, I said one night after a particularly vicious online thread. Give you space from my mess. She grabbed my arm, eyes fierce. No. We fight this together or not at all. The turning point came when my best friend from high school leaked old emails I had sent her during college, confessing my feelings for Kaylee. The emails spread like wildfire in our old circles. My father called, screaming about shame and business ruin. I drove to the family home alone this time, confronting them in the same living room where the intervention had happened. You raised me to be honest, I said, voice shaking. Now when I am, you hate me for it. Mother clutched her Bible. Honest to God, not to your flesh. Emily stood between us. You chose her over us. Over everything we sacrificed. The words cut deep because part of me believed them. I left that night feeling raw, driving back to Kaylee in silence. She listened to the whole story, then shared her own secret. Before me, she had been engaged to a woman who left her for a man when family pressure mounted. I swore I'd never be the secret again, she said. But for you I broke that rule at the wedding. Her vulnerability broke something in me. We held each other, crying for the versions of ourselves we had lost. The next day I made a decision. I sold my engagement ring online, the money going into a joint savings for us. Felt like closing a chapter. But the guilt remained a constant companion during sleepless nights. I questioned every choice. Had I been selfish, destroying Mike's future, my family's reputation, my own stability? Kaylee sensed the doubt and planned a weekend getaway to the mountains. There, in a cabin with no signal, we talked for hours, walking trails and cooking meals. "The world wants us small," she said one evening by the fire. "But we don't have to be." The trip renewed us, but returning to Atlanta brought fresh pain. My father had a real heart episode, this time blamed on me in family texts. I visited the hospital alone, sitting by his bed while machines beeped. He wouldn't look at me. "Go back to your life," he whispered. "We don't have one together anymore." The disownment was official in that moment. Driving home, I felt both devastated and strangely lighter. Kaylee met me at the door with open arms. We faced the reality that some bridges were burned forever. The moral dilemma sharpened. Was my truth worth their suffering? The answer changed daily, but each day I chose her again. Work picked up slowly, freelance jobs from progressive clients. Kaylee got a promotion, ironically, because the publicity highlighted her resilience. We started attending a small affirming church on Sundays, the first time I felt faith without fear. Yet the scars showed in quiet ways. I flinched at family names. She checked her phone for hate comments less, but still did. Our love grew stronger, forged in fire, but the price tag was written in lost relationships and sleepless nights. Every decision carried weight: the decision to stay, the decision to speak my truth, the decision to build something new. The crisis peaked in the fall. A tabloid-style article resurfaced with details from the leaked emails, twisting them into a narrative of deception and heartbreak for Mike. He filed a civil suit for emotional distress, the paperwork arriving by courier one rainy afternoon. Kaylee read it over my shoulder, her face hardening. "We fight this too." Court dates loomed, adding financial strain. My mother called one last time, her voice frail. "Your father is worse. Come see him before it's too late." Alone. I went against Kaylee's advice, the hospital room heavy with monitors and unspoken blame. Mother begged me to recant publicly, to say it was a mistake. "For the family, Sarah. For God." I refused, tears falling. "I can't lie anymore, Mom. Not even for him." She turned away. Outside the room, Emily waited. "You're killing them." "Happy now." The betrayal came from an unexpected place. My old college roommate, who had been supportive, posted a thread claiming I had used Kaylee as a rebound and was unstable. Comments flooded in, calling me narcissistic. Kaylee saw it first and confronted me gently. "Is there truth to any of this?" For the first time, doubt crept into her voice. We argued that night, voices raised for the first time in months. "I gave up everything for you," I shouted. "And I waited years for you," she shot back. The fight ended with us on opposite sides of the bed, silent. The next morning, I found her crying in the kitchen. "I love you, but if this is destroying us too, then maybe." I pulled her close. "No. We don't break." We went to counseling together, unpacking the layers of trauma. The family rejection, the public shame, the fear of repeating past patterns. The therapist helped us see the betrayal wasn't just external, it was the voice inside that still whispered I was wrong. The court case settled out of court with a modest payment from my savings, the last tie to my old life severed. My father's condition stabilized, but the family group chat I was removed from buzzed with updates I heard secondhand. Kaylee's mother flew in from California for a week, her quiet acceptance a balm. "You two have something real," she said over dinner. "Don't let them take it." The visit gave us strength. We faced the final ultimatum when my sister showed up at the loft with papers. "Sign this. Renounce any claim to family assets. In return, they'll stop the public statements." I signed without hesitation, the pen feeling heavy but final. Kaylee stood beside me, hand on my shoulder. The act was both loss and liberation. In the weeks after the internal storm calmed, I grieved the family I lost but celebrated the self I found. Kaylee and I took long walks, processing the pain, turning it into fuel. The betrayal from friends and family taught us who our real circle was. We hosted a small dinner for new allies, the laughter in the loft of victory. Yet the question lingered in quiet moments. Had my choice at the altar been worth every broken relationship, every lost opportunity? The answer wasn't simple, but it was mine. 6 months later, we moved to a smaller place on the outskirts of Atlanta, a fresh start away from the old neighborhoods. Work had stabilized, Kaylee leading a team on green building projects, me running my own small marketing consultancy for LGBTQ causes. The scars remained, but they no longer defined us. We visited the park bench where we had our first real date after the wedding, the same spot from the early days of hiding. Sitting there at sunset, her head on my shoulder, I reflected on the journey. The price had been steep: lost inheritance, severed family ties, damaged friendships, public humiliation. Mike had moved on, I heard through mutuals, finding someone new. My parents sent a single card on my birthday, no message, just their names. Emily texted occasionally, checking in, but the warmth was gone. Kaylee had her own losses, her career slowed at first, her trust tested. Yet here we were, stronger, more honest. The morning after the move, we unpacked boxes, laughing at old photos, one of us in college, arms around each other before the fear took over. "We survived the war," she said, kissing my temple. "And we won." That evening we cooked together, music playing, the kind of ordinary happiness I once thought impossible. I no longer questioned every decision. The internal voice that once screamed selfish had quieted to a whisper I could answer with truth. We had paid dearly, but the life we built was authentic. No more hiding, no more pretending. As the sun dipped below the trees, painting the sky gold, I squeezed her hand. The journey had broken me, rebuilt me, and shown me the cost of courage. Families fractured, communities divided, hearts mended in unexpected ways. I had chosen love over approval, truth over comfort. And in the end, that choice, though painful, had led us here, to this bench, to this moment of peace. Kaylee turned to me, smiling, the same smile that had pulled me down the aisle. "Ready for whatever comes next?" I nodded. "With you always." The world had judged us harshly, but we had judged ourselves more. Now we lived beyond the verdict. In choosing my truth over everyone's expectations, was I brave, or was I the most selfish person in that church?